Welcome to the Select Board meeting for Monday, January 8th. We'll call to order at 6:07 p.m. I'll move we go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares, which I do. ASME 1725, wastewater and water unit. And immediately following, move into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel and contract negotiations with non-union personnel regarding the town administrator. We will return to open session following.
Is there? Second that?
All those in favor, roll call vote. Brian, will you call the roll?
Selectman Lloyd,
Aye.
Chairman Smith,
Aye. Thank you, everyone. See you shortly. Welcome back to the Select Board meeting for Monday, January 8th. Resuming. We have the oath of office for Officer Garvey. Chief Holst, please come on up.
All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here, and thank you for doing this publicly. I know we did it before, and I think it's a great idea. I'd like to obviously continue it. So, thank you for Brian for putting it together, and for the board making time. Officer Garvey is here, and he is accompanied with his wife Kay and their 4-year-old son Boone. Brandon comes to us with a little bit of experience from Greenfield and working at the college, and I was with him all last week. It was a great week, and he starts off tomorrow. He'll be with the sergeant for a few days, and then Officer Brian. So I'll invite him up. Dick, if you want to come up.
All right. This should be painless.
Okay.
Come around the table a little bit. Yeah, just come to this.
Go around this way some more, I'm assuming, right? Does that look good to you? Okay, all right. So if you would please raise your right hand. Do you, Brandon Garvey, solemnly swear to faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as an appointed officer for the town of Erving, Massachusetts?
I do.
Do you promise to bear true faith and allegiance to and uphold and defend the constitutions of the United States of America and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
I do.
Do you solemnly swear that you will never betray your badge, your integrity, your character, or the public trust, always having the courage to hold yourself and others accountable for their actions?
I do.
All right, you are then now hereby sworn in as a police officer in the town of Erving.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, sir. Welcome. Likewise.
Sorry.
No confetti cannons this time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Just announced that we have ratified the do we not? Am I reading that wrong? Hang on a second.
You're announcing the wastewater agreement?
Yeah, but do we have to carry it?
No.
Only yours? Okay. We have ratified a collective bargaining agreement with the wastewater and water unit effective July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026. Also, we have ratified an agreement with the town administrator,
That one needs to be a vote.
which
Town
is
administrator.
effective July 1 through June 30, 2026. And we have to vote on that one here?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll move that we ratify the agreement, said agreement, for the town administrator, effective June 30, 2023 through July 1st, 2023 through June 30, 2026. There we go.
I will second that.
All those in favor? Is that roll call required? No? Okay. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back up to the top, review the flags, banners, and signs on government flagpoles, buildings, and properties policy draft. Second read. Just one comment. Or no, we captured most, I think we captured at least what we had talked about changing in .07. However, I think we need the word that, so between signs and are. So, only banners and signs that are town-sponsored. We just missed that in the on-the-fly translation last time.
Yep.
Any?
That
Did you
was
notice that?
my only comment, sir, as written.
I had one on .08 as well. There's a reference in the middle of the paragraph to section .05. And then there's a dot comma. I don't think that trailing dot is required or needed.
Correct.
Okay. That was just a grammatical, and I did not have anything else. Did you?
No, I missed that one. A little disappointed in myself.
Well, you've given me a renewed effort in my own. Now that I have competition. All right. With that, we'll carry it for a third and potentially final read at the next at a future meeting. I'm going to come back to the personnel. We'll go down to meeting minutes. Review meeting minutes. And we have minutes from December 11th, 2023. Any discussion?
None.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes of December 11th, 2023 as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We will pass over January 9th and March 27th.
Are you passing over March 27th as well? Or is that,
Yes.
okay. Yes.
Is there feedback?
What's that?
Other feedback on the draft?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I just looked at those early this morning and didn't get a chance to complete it, so I'm,
Understood.
I didn't get a chance to even start, so.
Yep.
Since it was just the two of us, I figured wasn't going to pass with one vote even if you were good, so no offense.
that's right.
That's why I passed over.
Excellent. We are in agreement.
Excellent. All right. Review of the public layout for Bridge Street and Maple Avenue. This is, I believe we'd started a little discussion on this a couple times now about the end of Maple Ave, where we do not necessarily have a public way as far as we believed. It's actually a driveway and affects frontage of other properties as well as ours, and I believe the entire street isn't necessarily adopted clearly, or avenue.
Maple's better. Bridge is the one that is the ancient way reference.
Okay.
Yep.
So maybe just to separate them out, Bridge is just realistically adopting the meets and bounds of the ancient way to be a clearly recognized public way.
Yes.
And defined.
Yes.
Okay. And then the Maple Ave, as I started on more specifically, has more to do with the, frankly, length of it and where it ends versus common belief,
Right.
if you will.
Right.
And in discussion with adjoining properties or affected properties, interest in extending that actual public way far enough to provide all parties frontage to those parcels.
Right.
And those parties have been interested in doing that, and a friendly taking with waiving the compensation for the value of that property, and basically in lieu of, they will receive frontage by
Right.
partaking in this effort.
So we've had the initial conversations. They've all shown interest in proceeding. We told them that there'd be an official process, which The question today is whether or not you're willing to begin that official process that does include a public hearing. The parties have been spoken to again and notified that if you make that decision tonight, they will be notified of the public hearing. They're invited and encouraged to attend. And if obviously they've changed their mind or they have different feelings, we encourage them to express that. So.
So I understand there's a date in mind to potentially hold that public hearing.
So the suggestion, and this ties into the SDM conversation, if you all are interested in addressing this at your SDM, which you don't have to do. If you were interested in that, the 22nd could work for a public hearing on this topic. You need 7 days after you issue the notice before you can hold the public hearing, and then you need 7 days after you've issued the order of layout to hold the town meeting. So if you did the 22nd, January 31st for a potential town meeting date or a date that week, would work with the timeline.
7 prior, 10 post, is that what you said?
7 and 7.
7 and 7, okay. Yeah.
So if we were to hold the public hearing on the 22nd, is
And-
there
STM on the 31st.
a, right?
Yeah.
So just 7 PM? I know it's,
Yeah, most likely.
You have your,
I don't see why not, I guess. At the moment, our
Your
joint
budget
meetings
hearing.
are not that night, huh?
I think you have your budget hearing that night,
No, it's the
the 29th.
11th and then the 29th.
Okay, good. Sorry.
Because it's supposed to be every other week, and tonight's not a budget week, so. Because next week's a holiday.
Thursday's your budget.
Thursday is the budget, the first one, and then 2 weeks from next Monday would be the next one, so.
Right.
Yeah. So I see no reason 7 PM wouldn't work fine. Are you in favor of pursuing that and moving it
I
forward?
think it makes sense.
Okay.
So would you like a motion to move
I
it forward?
agree.
That would be wonderful.
I will therefore make a motion to send notice of our intention, the layout, of the following public ways, Bridge Street and Maple Avenue, to hold a public hearing on these proposed layouts on Monday, January 22nd, 2024, at 7:00 PM, to be held here or at the school.
I think we can do it here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're,
To be held here at the Erving Senior and Community Center, One Care Drive, Erving, Mass. 01344.
I will second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I will get that ready for your signature.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Review of the town administrator position description. I guess draft edits.
Should all be in red track changes.
Mm-hmm. Page 2, the first actual essential function. I just think in changing select board, board of selectmen, there was, it captured an extra bore in there. If I'm reading the track changes without hiding them all correctly.
Is he saying we're boorish?
I mean, maybe sometimes we are. Maybe not in that spelling, though.
Guess it depends on the day.
Any questions or concerns?
I have none at this time.
Nor do I. We'll carry it. Usually carry these for 3 historically. We've just been adopting when we're ready.
Yeah, they're not policies.
Do you want to carry another meeting or you want to adopt it?
I'm comfortable either way if you'd like to.
Yeah, I'm fine with adopting it. Make a motion that we adopt the town administrator job description as presented with the one minor typo change, effective January 8th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Review and potential appointment of zoning board of appeal vacancy letter of interest, Holly Fitzpatrick. Any concerns?
I have no concerns. I'm prepared to make a motion if you're ready, sir.
Please do, I
I
am
will
good.
make a motion to appoint Holly Fitzpatrick as a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals, effective January 8th, 2024, with a term ending June 30th, 2025.
Second? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to see interest and be able to start trying to fill seats.
We received another letter of interest today for another Board of Commissions. We'll have that for your review.
Excellent.
And we will continue to advertise these openings.
Excellent. Review of the federal fiscal year 2021 Community Development Block Grant Report for the quarter ending December 31st, 2023. Any questions or concerns?
No, I had the opportunity to read this yesterday and appears to be in order, as best as I can tell.
Agreed. Good to see a majority of the funds have been committed, 90%, and better than 50% has actually been spent. So it's good. Okay, circling back. We have about 5 minutes till the joint meeting, so what I'd like to do is actually jump into review of the special town meeting warrant draft and talk a little bit about it. At least one specific item that came up during the Capitol meeting, if not more than that, and then we'll get into the overall with the Finance Committee after that. So STM draft, looks like we're talking about Wednesday, January 31st at this point, based on our last action.
That's with the understanding that Wednesdays aren't great. The preference of the town moderator is the 31st. It's a scheduling challenge for the town clerk. He's at the town clerk's conference starting that day. Yes, if there's
Assistant town clerk might be able to
it's
fill
possible.
in if needed. Okay.
So he said if he has to, he'll make it work.
Okay.
So
All right. Well, I think at this point, based on trying to do the layouts and the public hearing and everything, that'll be the timing that works best for the majority. So things we're trying to do.
and we're still looking at this as the location.
It's really hard to say because the last one, I mean, I know we we expected turnout, but it's hard to say if there would be enough room. If we do here and then end up having larger attendance than expected, can we adjourn it to across the street for later that night? The moderator can do
The
that,
moderator has
correct?
the authority to make moves.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. What do you think?
Is that space available that night if that's a move we need to make?
I can verify.
Let's find out. I guess at this point, if we're going to, we can wait till Thursday to approve if we need to. But if we approve it tonight, then we'll be under the assumption that either that's available or here's available. If we want to know for sure before we make the decision, then we'd wait till Thursday.
Yeah. We can clear this till Thursday.
Well, either way, we should find out.
Absolutely.
And then what are your thoughts? Do you want to wait and hear that answer first, or do you want to give it? And what are your, I guess maybe back up, what are your thoughts about holding it here? Which I know is projecting attendance.
It's tough to project attendance, and that may be impacted by whatever weather system is making its way. I've heard potential for snow Tuesday, but light. Actually, what am I? Never mind.
I'm like, you're looking at weather that far out? I'm
Yeah,
impressed. I don't.
I just,
It's all good.
it's been a Monday. Please forgive
All
me.
good.
I'll go back to part of my original statement is weather could be a driver. If we are looking at the public ways topic, that might draw interest. Some of the other items could draw interest.
I'm sensing reluctance that we have enough room here.
What's that?
I said I'm sensing reluctance that we may have enough room here, which I think I have the same question. So maybe we should hold till Thursday, see if the school's available. If it is, we'll plan to hold it there.
Okay.
Or at the very least, have the ability to move it there if needed.
Yeah, it's contingency. Yeah, I agree. If we hold till Thursday, then, I mean, realistically, some time that week is the only time we can hold it.
Correct.
Effectively, it's probably the 29th, 30th, or 31st would be the only day we can do it.
Yep.
Okay. I guess if the answer is no on the 31st for some reason, and I mean, there's 2 spaces over there, so maybe it still can be yes, then can you find out about the 29th and 30th? If 31st is not available?
Yep.
For some
Absolutely.
reason. Okay.
Does the 30th give us the 7 days for the other item? that we
Yes.
just-
Even the 29th, technically, if we don't start till after the hearing ended
Right.
on that topic,
Right.
which means we wouldn't open it with it, but
Right. It'll be tight, but
yeah, but we can probably figure that out. Okay. Other than other pieces of this, we may go through anyway tonight with Finance Committee when we do the review, specifically under Article 5, the capital stabilization transfer. Are they actually appropriations and not transfers?
if you want to read his transfer,
No, I'm just asking. I guess appropriating is the same idea. It's not raising, it's just appropriating.
we're appropriating.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. So the question mark is this. I realized in some of our reviews that during our budget message, we put out some guidance about reviewing open funding for capital projects and status, and if they hadn't begun or weren't in progress, to bring to capital Y and what the plan was. And that meeting happened, but I never had the board meet and discuss all of the capital projects that didn't fall under other departments, our departments at the very least, but probably anything that fell under even our departments, we should have at least had a cursory review of. So, long story short, we should still do that, but one that came up was the $149,000 that is in Town Hall. I don't know what the title is, but it's Town Hall, funding for RFP for
Feasibility
potential rehab
renovation.
or replace, right?
Yep.
And it originally came out of some siding money. It got added to, and we've had the RFP written for more than a year now,
About 3 years.
about 3 years, and we haven't pulled the trigger to actually release it yet. So considering where we are, I raised the question to you, do we really think we're going to take action on that in the next, 6 months, 12 months? And if not, should we add it to this to put back into capital stabilization and come back with a request when we're ready to actually release?
I'd be inclined to do just that
Okay.
if and when the time comes. But in the meantime, to move it.
I'm of the same thought. Given all the other things we have going, this one doesn't feel or sound like something I expect that we will dive into in the next 6 months plus. So, can we add that to Article 5 to close that out or appropriate that over to capital stabilization?
Sure.
The Capital Planning Committee, when they met last week, reviewed this, made recommendations on all the existing items that, the items that, their recommendation really applied for, and also made a contingent recommendation to keep their recommendation, assuming we included the town hall money in it, because I brought it up as a potential, and so we can keep their recommendation on that article, even with the change. Just as an FYI. Okay. With that, it is 7:03 p.m., so we will call the joint meeting with the Finance Committee to order and continue our review of the special town meeting warrant draft. Welcome. I'll open it with a couple things. We had some discussion prior about the road layouts that are in here and the public hearing that we'll have to have, and we decided to move forward with that. So we'll have a public hearing on the 22nd at 7 p.m. regarding the relocation of Bridge Street and Maple Avenue, which also means if we wish to continue to keep them on the STM, that meeting cannot happen before technically the 29th at the same time we close the public hearing, so effectively the Tuesday or Wednesday of the last of the month there. So we had originally been holding, I think, the 24th and the 31st, those Wednesdays, as the potential. So we're targeting the 31st, but we are going to make sure that the school is available, because we do not know that yet, rather than here. I think we're both at least wanted as a contingency, if not skeptical, that holding it in here might be too small, and we'd at least have to move it. So want to make sure it's available, and if not, we'll look at the Tuesday, and worst case, possibly the Monday night instead, depending on availability. So tentatively firm, we'll finalize it on Thursday before our budget meeting this Thursday on the exact date, but leaning at the 31st currently. And then the other item was on Article 5. We added some more funding to reappropriate that was in a holding for the town hall, possible renovate or replace. We can explain that further when we get there.
We actually talked about it during our.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah. We voted in support of the warrant,
As it is?
including the 149. We did discuss that.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to run through article by article just because we haven't done that yet. And if there's anything, comments or thoughts you want to add, please do. So Article 1 will be public way, acceptance of relocation of Bridge Street. And this one's just moving the ancient way to a defined public way and having the meets and bounds set, right, properly by our survey.
Right.
Article 2, Maple Ave. And this includes some marking, but more extending it to where it was assumed to be and/or.
Language on this one does not include the taking yet, but it will by Thursday when you review it again.
Okay, is the taking all part of the same?
It'll be in the
It
same
can be in the
article.
same article? Okay, it's not going to be added articles, okay.
Correct.
So the additional property that is needed to extend the public way, the takings required will show up here. In conversations to date, the affected parties are interested in taking for no compensation given the benefit they gather from having that frontage they don't have today. So it's a friendly taking with no compensation or monetary compensation. Article 3, amend the elected official compensation. Did we change that article information to focus on there's no additional funding needed?
It's in the third line.
I'm thinking the second to last sentence is maybe just could confuse people to have it in there.
Just strike it.
That's what I'm thinking. What other thoughts? In the second sentence, it states that the funding will be sourced from existing special article that was approved at the annual and does not require a change to the current tax levy. And so I feel like repeating it to say that we already approved it in FY24 just feels confusing.
I would end there I would end with tax levy limit and then pick up again with approval of this article requires a 2/3 vote.
Oh, and take out the compensation plan piece too? Oh, right, because we kind of talked about that in the beginning of that sentence before too.
Yeah.
That it's related to the revised comp schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So strike the 30 and fourth sentence.
I have a question on Article 3. Under the amended, maybe I'm just not seeing it, under the amended wage total column, there's half a dozen lines with an asterisk, one with 3 asterisks. I don't see asterisks anywhere below there to explain them. I'm asking the question, because somebody else might. Maybe I'm just not missing it.
No, I don't see those footnotes that are normally there. They get truncated. They reference where the source is, where some of them come from the water enterprise fund and things like that. That's what they're for, just from my historic memory. But I think we're missing those footnotes.
Do you want those put back in?
I think we should.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there's a reason for to have the explanation, I guess.
It's not related to this change here, right?
It's not.
But it is
It's
part of the
more,
definition of where those come from.
it's more relevant in the annual town meeting warrant because it's pointing back to the other articles throughout the warrant of where that money is being sourced from.
So maybe the answer is to eliminate the asterisk, maybe.
Maybe that's the answer.
Well, one way or the
And
other.
we can add in the article information. Or I could be more specific and say which articles on the annual town meeting warrant it was. They just won't have that companion document to reference.
I think that's getting way too in the weeds.
So
I
just
would just
remove the
eliminate the asterisk.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Good catch.
And I would say just have the information ready if someone asks the question.
Yep.
No, that makes sense, because before striking the asterisks, I was about to say it's further confusing because there's a single asterisk, there's a triple asterisk, and
No double
my brain
asterisks?
would go, where's the double asterisk?
I was gonna say, is there a double? Because I think there is, but it's just not showing here for some reason, but that's okay.
Right.
We'll just have no asterisk. I like it.
So remove the asterisk, strike sentence 3 and 4 in the article information. Any other revisions?
Probably being particular, and we'll see what happens once you put the takings information in there, but the table breaking across the page for me is not great, because you lose the titles and the headers and what columns you're in, so can we just make sure that maybe Article 3 starts, fiscal 24 operating budget starts a new page?
Yep.
No matter where, unless the table and article information happen to fit on the same page without doing that.
It might solve the problem in Article 5 with the same issue.
So I think we're trying to keep the opening description and the table at least on the same page, if possible.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If we lose the article information onto the next page, I don't think it's horrible, but breaking the table, I think, is the part that's difficult. Did we agree on 3 to strike the second to last and third to last sentences in the article information?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Anything else on Article 3? Okay. Article 4, stabilization fund articles. First one is appropriation of opioid settlement stabilization fund, so transferring additional funds we have received from those settlements into the stabilization fund for them from free cash.
Sorry, what was free cash you mentioned?
What is that money? That
I didn't, you mentioned free cash, I'm sorry. I didn't-
So the opioid settlement money that's coming in from the manufacturer, from the settlement,
Yeah.
ends up in free cash, because that's where we take the receipt.
Oh, okay.
And so to put it in the opioid settlement stabilization fund, we're transferring out of free cash.
Okay.
Because that's where
Thank you.
the money came from, or came into.
Can I just make one clarification?
Please?
This is the original sum of money that came in FY23, and it did exactly what the chairman just explained. Going forward, you adopted both a bylaw and an authorization at town meeting. So the treasurer, as she receives them going forward, she can just deposit them into the fund. So it's just cleaning up that one fiscal year.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's right. The language we approved didn't allow it to happen then, even
Correct.
though we thought it would, until after they said no.
Yes.
Thank you.
So does this, are we on Article 5 now?
Yes, effectively, yes. If there are no comments other than questions other than that, yes, Article 5.
I'm sure I was.
Amended by another, I believe it's $149,000 even.
The new sum will be $380,176.57.
What was that again, 308?
380.
380,
Yep.
thank you.
What did we have in there? More than 149? Oh, 418, okay, got it. Any questions or concerns on 5? Fiscal 24 capital improvements, Article 6. Appropriation for modular office space for Public Works. $75,000 for the modular office space coming out of the Public Works dry storage account. Article 7, appropriation for town properties, board secure and security. And so the goal of this one was to consolidate, coming out of the capital planning meeting, was to consolidate various board secure, protect property funds into a single broadly named fund that allowed it to apply to whatever building we need to use it for, rather than IP Mill and Usher, which is where they come from.
I think I would just clarify at the end of the article action, when it states what the purpose is for an account to be created. I know the town accountant just wanted that to be clarified.
Should the town vote to close the special appropriations listed below and appropriate the unspent in aggregate for a new account titled, is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
For a new account titled Board Secure and Security of Town-Owned Properties.
Right. Because all of our other ones are mostly transfers, and this is the one that we're creating something new to put this in, so.
Okay. I have no concerns.
Is the explanation, there's still more to go with the IP mill in years to come, but these particular items, we don't need right now, we're transferring them over to a different account.
No, it's more of, there's continually things to do as we may have vandalism and we have to go back and, reboard or,
Yeah.
or, resecure certain things. And we have different buckets of money for IP that we've had out there that we've been using.
Right.
But they limit us to doing it only there. And then we do have other properties, such as Usher, to maintain and that are out there. And there was also the same kind of money in the Usher account. So we're going to combine it all into one account that is broad and says it's for all town properties. And so then we can use that for securing and boarding at any property as needed instead of it being only the one that's named.
Right. I'm
That
good.
make sense?
I'm good, thank you.
Can we remove the sentence, the newly appropriated balance is meant to continue to support? It just feels repetitive from what was literally just said in the sentence before.
To strike that second to last sentence. Okay.
And that, the one before it is a little bit repetitive of the very first one. Should we really just move that up and have that be the first sentence? So instead of approval of this article would transfer the unspent from special that were previously appropriated for capital projects, period, which feels unfinished. Should we just start with this article proposes, approval of this article proposes to aggregate the remaining balances of special articles for former IP and former Usher into a single special article be used to continue to maintain and secure these and any other town properties?
Yes.
Did you capture all that on the fly, Brian? Strike the
So-
first sentence. Actually, I mean,
Yeah, I got it.
do we even need the whole that we discussed it, or is that really the article information? Just what I just said.
I think what you just said is fine. It's succinct and to the point.
So article information will be that second to last sentence that says this article, but we'll start it with approval of this article. Proposes to aggregate the remaining balances of special articles, former IP, former Usher, sites into a single special article to be used to continue to maintain and secure these and other town-owned properties.
Yep.
Period.
Strike everything else.
And then approval of it requires a majority vote, the very last one.
Okay.
Simple. Fewer keystrokes. Theme for the night.
I like it. It is a theme for tonight. Yes.
I hate to do this, but can we back up to Article 5 for the funding for the capital stabilization account?
Yep.
I was just looking over my capital notes. I had that the remaining balance of the dry storage for the highway was going to be closed out after the $75,000 was used for their new office space. Is that sound familiar to anybody, or am I incorrect?
I don't recall that.
I couldn't hear well enough that. They would need to convene a meeting before Thursday, which would be nearly impossible, or we drop their recommendation.
Nope, that's fine.
Okay.
Well, they'll be present Thursday.
Oh, that's true.
We're doing all the budget hearings jointly.
That's true. Do you want us to revisit it that night before we adopt it?
Ben, do you recall what we talked about with that one?
I don't, I really don't. I don't see any problem with bringing it up on Thursday, though.
Okay.
Okay. What, go ahead and know? Since we're on that, we'll be open to starting before 7, since we're talking about this. Maybe like 6:45 or something to out of the way before we kick off budget at 7. Okay.
I can be here whenever, so it's up to these gentlemen. If their schedules allow.
I know we're trying not to have a long, super long meetings, but I think that might help.
They're gonna get lengthened. I'd rather do it on the front side than the end.
Yeah. I'm sure those department heads presenting would as well. Good on 5 then, we'll revisit that piece and what's there, okay? 8, multi-year contract authorization, Article 8, a 5-year contract authorization for school transportation services, which was the initial driver of having the STM by the end of the month. Any other questions or concerns on the warrant?
Nope.
Did finance make recommendations on the articles, or are they? Do they want those? Have you all, or do you want to, so we can put them on for the Thursday meeting?
We recommended it as a whole.
Okay.
So those all recommended
In support,
unanimously, or?
yes.
Didn't we say
One
we were?
absence. We don't need numbers.
Didn't we say
Uni-
we were dropping that?
If you did, it's not something you told me.
The Finance Committee has not discussed that. I forgot to talk about that.
Okay.
You can just put the Finance Committee recommends for this particular article. We're not
Okay.
going to break it down to yeses, yays, nays, and all that.
We're not doing that anymore. Okay.
For this one, I'm going to make the executive decision. We are not, and as a group, we will discuss that further.
Okay.
The board has never done it,
No.
No other committee does it.
and Capital hasn't discussed it yet either. Ben, have they? Whether or not they want to or not? Okay.
For capital, it always kicks onto a second line. It's a formatting nightmare. So.
If it was solely my executive decision, it would go away. I don't agree with it. I don't think it needs to be there, but, and I know it's our warrant and we can do whatever we want with it to some degree, but,
I can't recall the genesis of that. I just remember the FinCom was very particular about wanting it when it happened, and so I've done it ever since.
yeah.
But we can stop if you'd like.
I'm trying, it was like 4 or 5 years ago, there was an article that we were split drastically on. I think it had to do with the,
It was that many years ago.
Erving paper mill.
Oh, the,
I think it had to
the
do
big
with the paper mill,
appropriation.
and it
Okay.
was split right down the middle, and
Could've
no,
been.
I want no.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Can,
there was, I do recall, there was a reason for it. It was along with these court decisions you read in the paper, 3-1 or 5-2, whatever it is. You know, and it lets people know, because this says recommends, and any person can stand up at any town meeting and say, what they want to say, but If people are sitting home reading what comes in around town, it may occur to them, well, I wonder why some people will say yes and others say no. Maybe they'll show up at town meeting. But it was there to promote discussion, I think, for people who had different opinions.
So I have both chairs. Are you open to having that as part of the STM conversation on Thursday? And
What are you
the
recommending
count.
be removed?
So my recommendation would be we either drop the count of votes, that's who's nay, abstain, and yes, or if there's some definition to whether it's unanimous or not, my second recommendation would be to have, for example, Capital Planning Committee recommends approval, unanimously approval, majority, by majority or something. Just to, I don't know.
I don't know, that
It's
majority,
simpler.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No, you're fine, go ahead.
I was gonna say majority kind of screams, what was the vote?
What?
Majority kind of screams, what was the vote? How did you guys divide it up amongst yourselves? And can somebody speak to what I want to know about?
Well, I think the votes are technically recorded, right, normally?
Yeah.
They're recorded so you can look back. I mean, I think about it from like an STM or ATM standpoint. Article passed with a majority. If we do a hand count, then that count exists on the record. Otherwise, it's just literally that. But, that's what I would propose the question, but it doesn't have to happen before this STM. And it doesn't even have to change. I just ask the question. The board doesn't do that historically, and I've not heard anyone say they'd like to discuss changing it. It's just recommended or submitted, and most of them are submitted by, but those that we don't submit, we just recommend or we don't. And we keep it simple.
Can I suggest we just shelve it until after the STM?
Absolutely.
Well, that's just my
Yeah,
suggestion.
no, absolutely.
I'm not sitting at the big table.
I was asking you as a capital chair if capital would want to entertain that discussion there, so I'm totally fine with it. And I know finance chair
Last
had
time
already
I
said
checked, this
in
is
future.
one table.
We're all sitting at the big table today. No, that's totally fine. We've got a lot going on. I have no problem with it. And if capital doesn't want to revisit it, there's no need. That's just
Unless the
choice.
finance committee feels strongly, I feel it's acceptable to just leave it with finance committee recommends
Yep,
for this article, and then we to discuss at a future meeting.
certainly do that. Yep.
For this warrant.
For this warrant, we'll
Okay.
discuss it at one of our,
Got it? Good enough. I feel like there was something else, but I don't think so.
Ask on Article 8, is the select board making a recommendation?
That's what the other thing was. Are we? I'll make a motion that we recommend Article 8.
I will second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
The rest of them we've submitted, correct?
Correct.
Which probably isn't the most accurate, but that's okay. We'll revisit that in the future.
Yeah.
Because we didn't recommend we didn't submit the capital ones. I mean, we are, but we aren't.
True.
So I'm fine for this time. Okay. Anything else on STM?
nope.
Okay, we'll carry for Thursday night. Probably 6:30 or 6:45 we'll set for start time.
I have 6:45. Are we talking 6:30?
I'm fine with 6:45.
Okay.
The board may start at 6:30 because we may have one other thing we have to do, so.
Oh,
but
we won't be there.
That's all right. 6:45 STM joint, we'll post with capital as well. There'll be at least a majority there, if not everyone. We'll let capital know, the rest of the members that, that's a budget night anyway. We'll just let them know it's starting earlier. And budget will kick off at 7. Anything else for joint business?
2-hour limit on the budget hearing. Bring your
Yeah.
gavels, your bullhorns.
I had no control over that.
Well, I do. I guess technically, ultimately, I do. But on that note, let's talk about that real quick. I'm just looking at my draft agenda that I haven't approved yet. Sorry, Brian. I assume this aligns with our calendar. Let me pull it up side by side here real quick. So our calendar called for Public Works, Public Safety. And we have Police, Animal Control, Fire, EMS, EMD, Tree Warden, Property Inspections, Highway, Building and Grounds, Streetlights, Townwide Fuel, Cemeteries, Water, Wastewater, Solid Waste, and Landfills. I don't know if I have my notes in front of me. Maybe I do. Does that sound right to everybody? That's all we were
Full
gonna.
night, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I know we were trying to break them into 15 minutes a department or a group of, and
Yep.
max, and okay.
But we'll see how that goes for the first time.
Oh, we will absolutely. The one that threw me, I think, was property inspections, but
The
don't know why.
questions of the capital planning committee discussed about the department's meeting that night have already been sent to those department heads.
Yep.
Because the meeting is on Thursday, and I know especially for the highway department, with the storm, they might need a little extra time, so I did make it clear to those department heads. If they did not have answers for us on Thursday night, that was acceptable, as long as they got them to us in a reasonable amount of time. Some questions might require a little bit more research and digging on their parts. So that's all taken care of from a capital standpoint.
Was that just from highway or all the groups you sent emails to? Given the
Police.
extra time?
Police and highway. I told them all just
Okay.
because I got them to them today, so I
Right,
felt
yeah.
4 days was kind of cruddy of me to give them such short notice. Everybody else, I still need to reach out to rec, library, and I will ask that they be prepared for their meetings with the information that we've requested.
Okay.
And if they have it sooner, they can email us sooner, but we want it for their meeting.
Thanks, Deb.
Yep.
Back of the napkin, not getting 120 minutes out of that list. But
Several of those will not take you 15 minutes each.
correct, but I don't know that some of the department heads that encompass multiple will take less than 30.
Police, fire, highway, and wastewater water are the ones that are going to take you the most amount of time. Everything else will be relatively quick.
So I know we talked about it, we kind of joked about it, but are we holding them to 15 minutes? Like if they're in the middle of their, I'm discussing, and nope, you stop, 15 minutes. Or, and if we do, how are we doing that? I was joking about the bullhorn, but I got no problem with like the little bell of destiny. Ding.
Well, that's kind of why I brought it up, because I feel strongly we should try. We've got a lot. We're trying to do a lot, and I think everybody feels like it's never stopped since this time last year.
Yeah.
So I think 10 minutes and 5 for questions and spillover, and then that's it. However, that isn't going to be able to work on every single defined section.
Yep.
So that's why I kind of brought that up. Like, if we said police stuff can have up to 30, 10 plus 5, 10 plus 5 for animal control and PD, okay, there's a half hour. I think between fire, EMD, and EMS, because fire and EMS is somewhat the same thing, 10 to 15 minutes for, each portion combined should be able to do the whole thing in 30. I'm just spitballing these out loud. Then you take town, tree warden, property inspection, highway, building and grounds, streetlights, cemeteries, and is fuel in under Glenn as well. All of those in 30 minutes, that sounds, I know some of them are small, but that sounds pretty tight. Even if we tried to say, okay, the first one will be 10 to 15, and then 5, 5, and 5, still feels like we'll burn through that time and still be going.
Yeah.
And to the question, do we cut them off? And we do have some fallback at the end of the schedule where we said we'll come back to things that we wanted more information that we didn't get through or whatever. But
I guess I would, and this is just my opinion, is we keep everybody to the 15 minutes, and if they go beyond the 15 minutes, we either let them talk at the end, or we let them come another night. Because once you start a minute late here, a minute late there, 5 minutes late there, 5 groups aren't gonna get to talk. Does that make sense? And I'm also wondering too, can we have like something behind here that maybe has a little clock? Like a buzzer? Now, Brian, don't laugh at me.
shot clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're laughing at me.
I
I
don't,
would never.
I could, yeah.
I don't want little.
We're
I'm
gonna-
with Ben.
You
I think we
want a
roll in a
big clock?
monitor and we put a monitor with a big red timer.
We may not have it for this Thursday. Could we? At one of the next couple? I think so. Sure.
It seems to me if the department heads are made aware, I mean, just, not just a casual reference, hey, we really mean this. Come in, say what you need to say. If you have more questions to take more time, we'll see you another day, but, you know, we're not trying to rush you, just if you're prepared, you can tell us, here's what we had last year, here's what's different, here's what I need to tell you. Shouldn't take 10 minutes. My opinion, my experience, some people are thrilled that they get a chance to come in here and talk to us. And they want to tell us all about everything they've done all year long and on, and that's great. I'm pleased that they have an opportunity, but for this budget hearing, just let them be made painfully aware. We're trying to get a whole bunch of stuff done in a relatively short time. You know, practice in front of a mirror or something, time yourself. You know, come in, tell us what you have to say for 10 minutes and we'll move on. If they're aware of it, they may prepare for it.
Yeah.
We hope.
As long as we set the tone early and remain consistent with it.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it. My concern is I can't say that when a department has 6 separate listed areas that they have to cover. Does that mean they got 60 minutes plus 5 each as spillover? Because it won't be that clean of a message. So
No, but I
that's
think-
where I think I've got to be a little clearer than just you have 10 minutes per or 10 minutes total or, you know.
I think that if we had an agenda coming into the meeting, where you could like pass them out as they come in, and police is talking at 7:45, and you've got 40 minutes, and this is what you got, so everybody knows that, and right after that is cemetery commission for 10 minutes, starting at 7:50, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
I think that's a brilliant plan.
I'm all for
I
it.
think that's a really good idea.
So people know when they're talking.
Yeah, because
and-
we often have that. It's who's first, who's up, and it's kind of this debate of who are we calling up to the table first. And so I would say maybe if Brian and Jake work together and say, okay, we think this will be about 30 minutes, or we think this department needs about 40 minutes, and come up with it. Or maybe Jake comes up with it and just,
Yeah, I like that. I also think the peer pressure aspect of it too. I mean, if you know that you've only got 15 minutes and somebody's talking in front of you and they're going into your time, I mean, you're going, this is my time. I mean, I need to get up there.
Well, and next time they won't be first. They'll be waiting on their peers next time. We'll mix it up on them. No, I'm fine with that. I guess I would just ask for input if there's any specific ones that you all think need longer than others. The ones that I wouldn't personally that I look at and I say we definitely need the 10 plus 5 buffer would be police, fire, highway, wastewater, water, and then the others that those cover could be shorter. That's my thought process to putting that together.
Are you thinking of putting the longer ones first or last, or interspersing them, or
Well,
does it make a difference?
I mean, I'll just pick highway because it's got probably the most separate listed, I think. Because that's also tree warden right now. Property inspections?
No.
Where's that one fall?
Building inspecting,
Oh,
electrical
that's
wire.
ours, or you cover it, or Jackie covers it. Building and grounds, highway, streetlights, townwide fuel. He has that too? Is the cemetery commission coming for cemeteries?
Cemetery Commission,
Okay,
I
good.
think all
Holly
three of
will
them
be
are
here.
planning to be here.
Excellent. No, I'm glad.
So-
I'm excited. So, I mean, you got like 5 there.
I would say if we suspect someone is going to be quick, let's do them, let's get everybody who we suspect will be quick done. Because that way, if, for example, the cemetery commission, they really, in theory, Capital's already received their request, we've already heard from them. They came to our Capital meeting to discuss their FY requests already. So they might be someone who could be fairly quick. If we get everybody knocked out who we believe will be 5 minutes or less, that will give us a little buffer going into some of those longer conversations of knowing, hey, these groups only took 25, 30 minutes. And so if Glenn or Chief Holst or, needs that extra 5 or 10 minutes, we know we've already got it.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay. Can do. I'll put something together and we'll plan to post it. We'll plan to share it as a 5-minute buffer between, especially the larger ones. Like, I don't know, your 7 to 7:35, and at 7:40 we'll start the next one,
Yeah.
just to give us that buffer. It will not be on the posted agenda. That will be the internal planned agenda because we're not going to not start at 7:35 if we're ready to continue on, and see how it goes.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
And the only other thing I would add is I think just having, I know I tried to do it a little not so tactful at the capital planning committee the other night, just having some self-policing of each other. And if one of us is kind of going off the rails, or I know at capital, when you start talking, the new capital, it can often be like, oh yeah, what happened with this project? And so I think maybe just if those kind of questions come up, if that's Brian going, hey, I'll look into that, I'll get you an email update, and then just moving on. And so we're not taking up the department head's time to go on, onto previous stuff, and just kind of making, kind of catching each other, if we catch each other doing that. And just kind of like, hey, that's a next time question, or that's a, let's make a note of it and we'll get an answer down the road question type of thing. That's not a right now in this conversation question.
The parking lot. Put everything in the parking lot.
Yep.
I also think that's great. We'll just be like, okay, we'll put that in the parking lot to follow up on outside of it. But then also areas within the budget that are brought up, I'm sure some will spur questions. The quick stuff I think is great to cover if we can in the time. If there's ones that get really in depth, I'm just going to pick on ACO because we don't have an ACO currently, but that's a conversation piece that I expect will draw some dialogue. At some point, we probably put that on for a future open meeting slot to dive deeper into specifics of
Yep.
the big ones, right? And so at some point, a few questions in, it might be, okay, that sounds like one we'll park for future in-depth discussion based on the feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. And we can gather additional questions in the few days post the meeting that came out of that from everybody to get that list out to feed a future meeting. Okay. I'll see what I can come up with. With Brian's help, I'm sure.
Confidence is high.
What's that?
Confidence is high.
Excellent. No pressure. All good. It's all good. I think all these things are good. More structure will help all of us. Other,
Just going back to Ben's comment about having a schedule is, it will keep that police, but it also, if we allow department heads to know this is your time, there isn't going to be somebody trying to rush down something for dinner to get here only to have to sit, and then, so
Yeah.
it
Good
offers,
point.
extends consideration to their time as well.
yep. I would say we'll put something in the internal memo around times and I would say we won't start more than 5 to 10 minutes before your scheduled time max, because it's not, we suddenly finish up at 7:15, next one's scheduled for 7:40, we're not gonna roll right into it. If someone's here and wants to go and it's a shorter
that's what I
segment,
was
maybe we
thinking.
will,
Yeah.
but otherwise we will wait and continue when their normal time or when they arrive. And I won't be surprised we'll have a full room at 7 o'clock anyway, but that's okay. I'd rather they were all here if they want to be and partake in it. Okay. Any other thoughts or requests, recommendations for Thursday?
Nope.
Okay. Anything else? Did I cover it all?
I think we did.
Like the habit of, we did not cover the personnel policy. Coming back to it?
Right.
Oh, okay. I meant the whole meeting, not just the joint meeting, when I asked if we covered everything. Sorry. To be clear. All right, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn the joint meeting at 7:47 and continue the select board meeting.
I got to admit, I love the shorter joint meetings that you've come up with. This is excellent.
Thank you for trying.
Second.
You can't second. Someone can.
I was looking for somebody to do it.
I couldn't help myself. Is there a second?
I will.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. We'll see you Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ben, do you want to print a copy of that?
Yes, it's difficult to look at through my
They're not
phone.
going to be pretty this year, they're going to be just like that.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's better than looking at it on my phone.
Okay. I'll get them for you guys for Thursday night.
What time would you Thursday?
6:30.
6:45.
6:45.
Okay, and I believe our last piece of business is review of the proposed personnel policies and
Do we want to take
procedures.
like 5 minutes to talk about
Can you,
the board and does somebody need to be a secretary?
can you guys take that out in the hall, please? Can you take that in the hall, please? We're still meeting. Thank you.
Try to get a hold of everybody before they.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Personnel, review proposed personnel policy procedures manual draft fifth read. Fifth? Sixth? Some read.
I'm losing
Continued read.
Seventh.
I don't know. Reading. Again.
So I
At some point, I feel like if we've got to third, it's just
we're just reading
continued.
it.
Next.
Yeah, until we're done.
So I saved some of the deletions that you'd previously approved. You had asked references to document versus manual just to be clarified. So on page 4, that was fixed. That's in red. Trying to think of what other ones I cut. There's once you get to Article 2 in employee benefits, there was a request to strike the specified health insurance provider from the language and move that to the appendix, which I did. And similarly, the EAP information, which I believe is on the next page, was done in the same manner. Off of page 10.
Yep.
On page
Is that
12,
12? Yep.
made the correction to the periodicity for the comp review. On 13, just making sure I'm clear about it, section 6 was the pro rata section for part-time benefit employees, and that was stricken, but that's no longer showing. But I'm noticing now that puts that chart half between 2 pages, so I'll make that fix. Let's see, and then when we move into employee leaves, I think the area that was left for further consideration was the bereavement leave section. So I saved some of the changes you had made, and there was a request, can't remember if it was Selectman Bastarash, to try to incorporate a reference of, for a full-time benefit employee, 40 consecutive hours of leave or 5 normally scheduled consecutive shifts, not exceeding the 40 hours. I don't know if that,
Oh, if that
Is this
language
clear as
meets
mud?
that? Okay.
I was trying to strike what he was trying to describe.
I'm for some reason drawing a blank on what we were contemplating and the need to have that language.
Well,
40 hours is 4 days if you work 10s. It's 5 days if you work 8s.
Right.
right, and then there were some people who work regularly scheduled 6, so their 40 hours would be extended beyond 5 days.
I see.
So
I think we were trying to clarify or reinforce the pro rata for, say, somebody was scheduled for, like you're saying, 30 hours for the week.
Which is the last sentence around benefits eligible part-time will receive benefit in the same proportion to their part-time to full-time service.
Correct.
So if they work 20 hours, I mean, it's whatever. We'll say it's 20 hours.
Right.
They'd be eligible for 20 hours. It's still not going to be more than 5 shifts.
Correct.
I mean, the odds are pretty
We
slim.
would assume. Right.
But that's what it was trying to capture.
I think that's what I'm recalling as the
Okay.
context that was.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on the context, but I remember the discussion, just not the context. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with the language. It reads like it does, and I think if it like it should, and if it applied, it would apply appropriately.
Right.
Like 40 consecutive, if that's more than if you have up to 5 shifts, but not more than 40 hours.
Do you think it's unnecessary?
I think if we said a week or 5 days, I could see where you'd need to specify it's 5 shifts or not exceeding 40 hours, because you can have people work 5 days who exceed 40 hours, or, you know, et cetera. I don't know without remembering
Okay.
what that was.
Yeah.
I will say I'm not necessarily in favor of adopting tonight, knowing Scott's absence,
Right.
so I think
Right.
we can come back to it when
Okay.
he's here to, if you're,
right, well, it was Scott's thoughts and language, so I wouldn't be comfortable adopting it without his option to weigh in. And you
Agreed.
afforded me the extra opportunity, so I don't think,
yeah.
at this point, I don't know that one more meeting will
Right.
change.
Sure it will not.
Okay.
So I guess to answer your question, it's sufficient for now. Let's see what Scott's thoughts are
Perfect.
and talk about it next time.
I can follow up with him offline as well, and see if that's getting at it, and if not, work with him to try to refine what he meant.
Okay. Parental leave was the next one, I think, with an edit, 24, page 24.
I feel like something got lost on that section.
Say what?
So I feel like something got lost on that section. Stand by.
Okay. I think the part of the amendment change, whatever, I think there's a word change that might help.
Well, I feel like we actually revised that. I may not have caught it in this version.
Revised it.
Through council. Because that was one of the ones that we sent to council.
Right.
I don't remember when I printed this now, but this one has a much lengthier definition there.
So I'm looking for.
And it's modified. Oh, I think I have it here.
Yeah, I grabbed the wrong version.
In what you sent, or in that one specific?
In that section, it didn't carry forward.
Okay.
As you're reading it, I'm going, no, I think there was a few more sentences that were added there.
I believe
Yeah.
instead it's birth, adoption, or placement of a child
Yes.
under the age of 18 or under the age of 23 if the child is mentally or physically disabled,
Yes.
for adoption with the employee who is adopting
Right.
or intending to adopt the
Right.
child, which I think is the intent clarification piece, right?
And there's further clarification under the FMLA section of how that applies. So I think both of those changes need to be carried forward into the most recent version.
And the FMLA clarification there, the additional is just that if I'm following that, FMLA leave eligibility is separate from parental leave and is applied differently,
Right.
right? That the parental leave that we've quantified above doesn't restrict or change the FMLA ability, which is
Correct.
broader
Correct.
and has different eligibility requirements.
Correct.
Okay.
There's
You
some
have-
overlap and there's the separation. So
That's the two if you don't have them.
I
But
was
if you did,
I was scrolling through to pull it up.
okay, either way.
Either
you
way,
want
it's
to.
still the same, right?
Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure how I missed that, but yes, that should have been carried forward.
Okay, but that's the way it was before, because that's
That's
what I'm
a-
reading is an older copy.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, it got lost in the last revision.
okay. I think we had no concerns with that, so we should be able to put it in and adopt
I'm
it.
just going to pull it through.
Yeah, yeah. And take it off edit.
Yep.
Okay. All right, and then beyond that, the AP add to the Appendix C on page 29, which was the moving it. I don't know if you have anything else of note before that. I didn't see anything.
Correct.
Did you have any call-outs on it? Okay. Going back up, I think Article 1, we still have some open items on that, page 6. Did we talk about making some changes to the language for voluntary scheduled last time? Voluntary lunch, working through.
I'm going to just quickly pull back up what council sent.
Yeah, I didn't recall if we talked, I thought we talked about it some last time. I don't recall if we had proposed some edits.
I think the only thing that I'm recalling now, it was part of the comment that council offered. Council offered that there should be a waiver form produced.
Yeah, and we agreed.
And so that's not explicitly stated in the policy. Do you want that to be explicitly stated, that there will be the use of a waiver to record that the employee is making that decision?
I think we said we did last meeting, yeah. That we did want the form, we want to make sure it was clear they had to execute it every time they wanted to do it. It's not a one-time and it's done, it's on file. It's every time they wish to skip or exercise the right to work through. It Should it be maybe more generally police officer, or is patrol officer the right language for that? Do you think, Jim?
Patrol officer is the title you use.
What does that mean? Does that technically exclude the police chief or the sergeant because that's not their title? Because it's too specific to being the title. That's what I guess.
Yeah.
That's kind of the essence of what I'm asking. Should it be more generalized to be police officers or police officers of any, because that's any rank, right?
Yeah. Okay, make that change.
The first sentence in that part right there is that public safety, public works, responding to emergencies, engaged in the performance of their duties. Is that meant to say while they're engaged in the performance of their duties during an emergency,
So snow
or at
plowing,
any time?
snow plowing, responding to a fire.
But it's not their general
No,
duties; it's
right.
emergency duties. Okay,
Right.
I think it's ambiguous. The second part, maybe engaged in the performance of those emergency duties. Just to be clear, it's reflective only of emergency duties, not duties.
Okay.
Please mention if you think otherwise, or
Yeah, no, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, but where the rubber hits the road, if they're filling out these waivers, how are we recording and storing these? Is this something, do we have the means to do this digitally, or are we starting to compile?
Short term,
Green.
it's going to be paper until we can automate the process. Yeah. There's only a few departments that, really one, that's currently doing that. So it won't be a heavy lift.
Okay.
okay. Overtime, I know we still have to come back to what's included in the overtime calculation or not. I'm open to discussing it if you have thoughts, but I'm also fine
Yeah.
carrying it till Scott's here if you'd rather.
Yeah, I'm still kind of stuck on that, where, if somebody comes off some sort of leave and then they cover either come in for an emergency or, cover for a call out. They're only being paid straight time for coming in, where they've already utilized a benefit that is afforded to them.
I think Brian had raised the concern about wanting to encourage someone who is ill to use that time and not come in sick
Right.
at the loss of overtime that would have existed had they not been sick,
Exactly.
potentially, right? Worked a few shifts early, worked some overtime earlier in the week, and now if I take some sick days because I'm under the weather, I lose that expected benefit of those shifts I added,
Right.
which may drive a decision to come to work sick rather than to utilize that time, right? I think that was one of your
Right.
examples, which I thought was an interesting perspective.
So Scott won't get paid for Thursday night because he's not here tonight.
Right. He won't get paid overtime for it, that's for sure. It's an unscheduled day. Because normally it's only Monday, right? A good point. So that covers sick, I'm gathering vacation, or, I'm sorry, yeah. Vacation and personal as well, is that what you're thinking, in terms of that conundrum?
Yeah, I mean, for your example, regardless of what they were to take the time off for, you know, even, you know, on a Monday, well, take police, for example. An officer scheduled to leave on vacation on a Friday, and that officer gets called on a Monday, which is their normal day off, but their fellow officer is sick and you come in and cover, so they're going to drop what they're doing to cover for the good of the department and the town for straight time, because they're
Their
utilizing-
weekend shifts or whatever
Right.
were vacation instead of, right,
Right.
right.
So,
Today, currently, how is it calculated? Is it inclusive?
That's our current practice.
Includes vacation, sick, personal,
Right.
but not holiday?
Holidays included.
In counting to overtime?
Yes. Yes. And there's really only a handful of departments that actually this truly comes into effect. So you're talking
Sure,
it's
you're
typically
talking
your
public safety,
police,
public works, yeah, I mean, and police more than any because they work
Correct.
7 days a week,
Correct.
regardless of holidays. But
So that is the current practice.
I'll have to check the holiday one. I don't think holiday is. And it's the other part of this. It's not listed here, but it's in the holiday section. Well, it's touched on slightly in the holiday section, but we need to kind of also
It's-
include or figure out. Before we jump into holidays, like,
Just to be,
staying,
hold on, that sentence is saying what's excluded. Holidays not listed there because you've already,
but also doesn't say it's included.
right, but holiday was listed there and you struck it because it was determined by the board that you were going to include it. So we
Okay.
could
Well,
add a
I
sentence
want to
to say
revisit
does.
it, but I meant today. Today, I think we need to circle back and check today current policy in effect on what holidays is, because I don't think it's included. I think it's additional straight time, but I'm not sure.
Oh, we'll get you the answer.
Thank you. So if I'm following, Jim, what you're thinking is vacation, sick, and personal would be considered for the purposes of overtime. I would expect any other leave of absence would not, or would need to be, if we want to add that, be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. 'Cause I can't think of other right now that
I was gonna say,
Would
what are the
include.
leave of absences. That's, so you're thinking others, say, jury duty, military,
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't really
Bereavement,
thinking of.
right, well,
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what that was covering.
well, here we are.
Yeah, I know. I personally think I'd rather be explicit about what is included, and then if we didn't think of something random corner case, it can be addressed or added or amended later. But to instead just say everything's included unless we say it's not, I don't feel as comfortable about. So I would rather say time off for vacation, sick, or personal leave is included in the calculation of hours worked for the purpose of overtime. Basically reversing that and drop out the leave of absence. And maybe there's a only in front of that. Only those will be included, you know, in addition to actual hours worked in calculating.
That makes more sense to me.
Okay. So amending that to be the first three are the only, is the only hours in addition to worked hours included in the calculation. Before I go back to holiday, in that, the holiday question, is that, any concerns with that? Or to you too, just because you get the input from everyone, okay. Holiday section, 17, I think it is, page 17. Maybe, yes. You're saying the recollection is we struck it from that highlighted sentence because it was in there, so then therefore it was included because historically it was, omission was included?
Correct.
And so if we take a general full-time employee who works Monday through Friday 40 hours, they have an observed holiday during one of those days, they don't come into work and they receive their regular 40-hour pay, assuming they came in the rest of the week, right? So they enjoy that day off benefit. If you include it in overtime, then you're talking public safety, public works, generally the only ones who would end up exercising that generally. If you have that Monday holiday off, and then you work overtime on Thursday night, you work extra hours on Thursday night, that's overtime because you got a day off on Monday, paid as extra benefit time. You didn't actually work 40 that week. And you didn't use your own time. You got a holiday. I say that, I mean, it's a benefit, yes, but if you use vacation time or sick time or something, you're using a bank of granted benefit time that you choose how to use. And so there's a cost to that.
Agreed.
And we're not taking away the benefit of still getting your 40 hours towards overtime sooner. But the holiday is a day off that we're paying you to be off. Not a bank of time you can use when you want. That we granted you as a benefit.
Agreed.
It's a set day off. And so you got to enjoy that day off as everybody else did. Why does that entitle you to overtime after working 32 hours, for example? That's my hypothetical
According to
question. I'm not
FLSA, it
making-
does not.
No, I know. That's what I'm posing out loud. And then the other part of that, and I talked at length with Chief Holst about this, which is probably why it's prominent on my mind, is then if you actually had to work on the holiday, this says it, and I believe our current policy says, essential employees required to work an unscheduled holiday will be paid at time and a half. So it doesn't matter if you've hit 40 or not, you're going to get time and a half for working an unscheduled holiday, right? Page 17, last line of holidays. Essential employees required to work an unscheduled holiday will be paid at time and a half. So I'm on a highway and I have to come and work on that Monday holiday. I'm not scheduled to. We get our Monday holidays as
Right.
holidays. That's time and a half. Regardless of any other calculation of overtime, that's time and a half. I could be not here and unpaid for the rest of the week. I'll get time and a half for those hours because it says I will, right? If I am an officer and Monday's the observed holiday, I get 8 hours of holiday pay. And my normal shift is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Tuesday through Friday. I'll get 40 hours, work 10s. So I get 8 hours of overtime that week for the holiday day that I didn't come in. Because I'll have 48 hours of hours worked, so 8 of those will count as overtime hours. So really 8 of my 10-hour Friday shift, if you're counting it as the hours accrue, will be at overtime. The person who's scheduled to work Monday through Thursday will work the same 40 hours of the same only 8 hours of overtime, because they also only had 48 as counted. And so what is the, so the benefit is exactly the same whether you had to work on the holiday or not, as a scheduled holiday. And because it's a scheduled holiday, you don't actually even get overtime for those extra 2 hours you worked because it was scheduled. So this time and a half on the holiday only applies for unscheduled. So you got the exact same pay as someone who didn't work on the actual holiday and worked physically and also got the same number of holiday hours. You can see the challenge that generates. Is part of it. So one part I think I have, at least bring up as a question, is if we want to pay someone because time and a half because they have to work the holiday, then it doesn't matter whether it was scheduled or not. In my mind, you work the holiday, you get time and a half because you had to work on a holiday. I think the unscheduled piece really is only a detriment to the police officer currently in our current schedules, and I don't see the value in theory 2 hours that a normal shift would be, that they're not going to get time and a half. Versus someone who had to come in because of a snowstorm, who would. So that's one problem I have with it, or a challenge. And then the other one is, because if we include the holiday pay towards overtime, then the person who didn't have to work the day is going to get either the exact same pay as the person that did, or 2 half hours of overtime better, and that's it. So where's the, I don't want to say incentive, but recognition that you had to work on a holiday? And I understand you signed up for a profession that requires that. But at the same time, where's my incentive not to call out and not to, because I'm going to get the same pay that, somebody else got. Those kind of things. And instead I don't get the 8 hours that others got and whatever, but I don't have to come in. So just what kind of challenge does that create? Whereas if you exclude it from the calculation, a person that didn't actually have to physically work it but still worked 40 hours as well will get 48 hours of straight time. But the person who actually had to work the holiday will get the extra half time for the whole shift.
Maybe my recollection is wrong, but I thought, so your example of Officer A that works Tuesday through Friday, for that Monday holiday, they get 8 hours of straight time.
I believe that is today what
Right.
the policy says. We'll confirm that.
But, so they get 8 hours of straight time, but they're not going to get, or I don't recall that going back to when I was working there, that the last 8 hours of our Friday shift would be at overtime. It was, you got your regular 40 plus the benefit of 8
Regular
hours
8.
of regular time for the Monday holiday, if that wasn't your regularly scheduled day.
And that may be today, but in this policy, if we include holiday time, then
Right.
that would not be true. It would be overtime.
Right.
Because you will have accumulated 40 hours, 2 hours into your Friday shift. At which point, if it's inclusive, you'll get overtime for those remaining 8 hours of Friday.
Right.
And the person who worked the holiday will have the same exact thing happen on their Thursday. They will have accumulated 32 hours, 40 hours counted by 2 hours into their fourth day and get the exact same pay. Or accumulation of hours. So that's why I bring it up too. Because I don't think that's the way it's either in the policy today or applied today. And I think the language of if it's not scheduled, you get time and a half, but if it's scheduled, you don't, potentially just feels backward to me. So,
Just table and revisit.
I think we're gonna have to.
that's fine. I mean, I wouldn't think we'd decided tonight. I know we probably want to have Scott weigh in too. I just wanted to raise that as a concern about if holiday time is included in the calculation. Since a lot of this all rolls back to the overtime calculation piece of it. Right now, the proposed edit is specific about the only things that are included, and it doesn't say holiday. We'll be sure to revisit and make sure that's the way we want it. I would propose as a draft edit for the next policy that in the holiday section, page 17, that last sentence, that we modify it to employees required to work on a holiday are paid at time and a half for those hours worked. That's my proposal for review next meeting. I don't necessarily
Okay.
feel that it matters what type of employee you are and what job you have or whether it's essentially defined or not. If there's a reason that you had to come in on a holiday and work, then you worked on the holiday, and I don't feel we need to differentiate.
Okay, we'll make the revisions.
Any others that you had for tonight? Okay.
I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah,
one quick
no,
scan through to,
please do.
I'm not seeing anything else. Just-
Okay. We'll make those changes and edits and bring them back for
Yeah.
further discussion review.
20th read.
Yes. The 20th read on the 22nd. Or whatever meeting that is. The next meeting we put it off.
Nice. Thank you.
I believe that covered everything on the agenda for tonight.
Correct.
I know there was one other thing, but I don't know what it was, and I didn't jot it down, so it'll be at a future meeting. With that, I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:25.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.